Welcome. Today's course topic is Global Mobility Flexibility. Those that attend this course will better understand flexible policy options and analysis, benefits of having flexible mobility options, what to watch out for when providing these flexible options, pairing options with stakeholder wants, needs, and goals, operational structure in a flexible culture, and providing flexible resource options to employees. Who is this class for? This class is for human resource business partners, corporate mobility professionals, hiring managers, relocation management companies, and mobility service providers. Essentially, all of those that play a part in the mobility process of employees worldwide. Now, for what we'll learn and how the course is broken up. The course is broken out into 6 lessons and a course project. The first lesson is an introduction to mobility flexibility. Lesson 2 is policy flexibility. Lesson 3 is opt-in programs. Lesson 4, operational flexibility. Lesson 5, resource flexibility. Lesson 6, psychology of flexibility. And finally, the course project. We'll make a core flex policy together. I will be your instructor for today. My name is Andrew Bruzy. I'm the founder and CEO of Vendium Global. I'm an author in the mobility space and have over a decade of experience in mobility. I also am a former expat and will add some personal anecdotes of why flexibility is so important when moving your employees. So what is Vendium Global? Vendium Global is a global mobility and HR consultancy firm headquartered in Northwest Arkansas. We help medium to large corporate clients and relocation management companies in achieving what we refer to as mobility modernized. Mobility modernized is a culmination of the proper tools, processes, and technology to help move your employees as effectively as possible throughout the world. Lesson 1, Introduction to Mobility Flexibility. Let's discuss why flexibility is important. First is so you can increase your employee retention. By offering programs that meet the needs of the individual, they will show much greater loyalty to the organization and stick around much longer. As a beneficial side effect of the flexibility, you will be improving your employee experience. When employees have the option to seek further development, a global experience, or have a situation tailored to them, their engagement organically increases. Next is workforce readiness. Your business leaders need access to top talent and well-developed talent. By building your talent mobility programs around development, budget, and talent access, you're preparing your workforce for the future. Last is cost management. Not all situations require the same solution, and by meeting the needs of the situation, you will reduce costs. What do your employees want? Today, more than ever, we see employee engagement surveys requesting more development. Development is good for the employee's growth and good for the company. A close second is experiential opportunities. Do your employees have a chance to participate in projects that are with other teams, in other offices, or in other countries? This exposure makes them more effective in operations and more engaged in performance. Effective talent tracking systems will help you know who is ready for a promotion, a specialized project, or a global assignment. Your employees want to know which skills to develop and want you to know which skills they have. Now, we have all experienced the times of being passed over for a promotion or a manager missing accomplishments during an evaluation. Recognition can be small or large. The important thing is to not miss the impact it has both on the positive and negative aspects of performance. So we've discussed what the employees value. Now, what is it that your business leaders want? This may be an obvious one, but the first is limited spend. Hiring managers and executive leadership must have value from their budget dollars. Limiting spend is not just reducing costs, but also increasing value of that investment. Building programs to meet the needs of the business is just as important as meeting the needs of the employee. Next is available talent. When there is a talent gap, the leadership team does not have time to spare. This means that they need to have talent with the skills for the job and availability to perform it. Last is efficient and effective talent. Even beyond being available, they must be engaged, prepared for the location, and well suited for the culture. This mixture of soft and hard skills is what will bring your organization success. How do you identify your goals? There are several key areas that you want to hit when identifying and defining goals, but let's start with business strategy alignment. Does your talent mobility plan pair with the plans of the business, or are you creating solutions in search of a problem? Meet with your business partners and learn their needs. Bring them solutions for their challenges. When looking at these solutions, does it pair well with the plan for talent development? When you move your talent, do you have succession plans in place? Proper talent management alignment is the difference between being proactive and reactive in talent mobility. Corporate culture should be represented in all aspects of your goals and mobility operations. A lack of alignment will not just be noticed but actually felt during a very sensitive time in your employee's career. While developing these goals, don't forget to blend tactics and strategy. You want your goals to be both achievable and impactful. This mixture of tactics and strategy will yield immediate returns. Lesson 2. Policy flexibility. What is the nature of policy flexibility and how do we use it? There are a number of mobility programs that provide flexibility, but the best ones also provide a structured selection. While inflexible policies simply provide structure, the selection aspect is what makes it meet the needs of the employee and the business. You want these choices to be in compliance, so you aren't having to provide tax and legal consulting with every transfer. These options show what is available and help the business leaders know what isn't. An underappreciated benefit of policy flexibility is during program redesigns. By allowing the ability to choose what is selected, you can see what is important to that specific segment of your employee population. Lump sum relocation policies are a tried and true favorite amongst these options. Lump sum policies provide a one-time or staggered cash amount over a period of time. Given the limited support, we only recommend that they be used domestically with nationals of that country. Business leaders appreciate the ability to keep a strict and consistent budget across all of their transfers while keeping admin costs low. The pros of lump sums is that they are easy to administer, budget around, especially for forecasting, have a low cost to administer, and often do not require many people to operate. Many organizations will simply have a technology solution to support their employees on these moves. Depending on your organizational values, the cons of strict lump sum programs may outweigh the pros. These include limited visibility into where your employees are in the process and what they spend their lump sums on. It may cause business leaders to allow for relocation expenses to be reimbursed as business, creating a compliance issue. Limited support of the employee, especially when there is no human involvement. Employee experience, because it is up to them to find the services they need, book them, manage everything themselves, and often the population supported by these policies have never moved before. One item that cannot be understated is exceptions. Hiring managers want to take care of their team, and it is impossible to say what the lump sum was spent on, whether or not it was paying down a credit card or if it actually went to relocation expenses. A high rate of exceptions takes away from many of the pros. A solution for when organizations want a bit more visibility into their relocation lump sums is a managed lump sum. It is like a strict lump sum, but rather than paying out at once, benefits and services are deducted from a set budget. Since there are no mandated benefits, these programs should only be used domestically. Business leaders will still appreciate the fixed budget, and if your employee has something like a wage garnishment, the expense benefits will allow them to begin moving immediately, in contrast to a strict lump sum policy. For the pros, we will appreciate the fixed cost, making budgeting and forecasting easier. The cost to administer is typically lower than a traditional comprehensive relocation, and there is consistency amongst your benefit options. All said, the primary value add for your organization is visibility. Managed lump sums can be administered as easily as with a web-based relocation service, but you could be sure that you'll know where that money is going. With all of the pros, there are still many cons. First being the employee experience. Many employees do not know the cost of relocation services, especially if you are providing a tax gross-up, so they may feel cheated or like they don't get as much of a benefit as they once thought they did. While being amongst the flexible offerings, flexibility is still limited because the budget is fixed. Employees may need to go into their own pocket if the budget doesn't allow certain services, or worse, services at certain times of the year. With these chances for a negative experience, exceptions can often be high, with hiring managers wanting to keep their employee happy. Administration can also be tough, with budget-conscious employees seeking the most cost-effective time to use each of their benefits. A policy that is on the rise in popularity is Core Flex. This is a program offering standard benefits to all those being supported, the core, and a set selection for the employee to choose from, the flex or flexible portion. Since you can mandate things such as immigration services, this policy can be used both domestically and internationally. Many organizations appreciate that you can use a single core flex policy across several countries, providing consistent support with the flexibility to match diverse employee needs and wants. The pros of this program include the flexibility to meet the needs and wants of the employee and location, application of use, being able to be used over many locations and business segments, employee experience by ensuring that they are looked after with the core, but still have the ability to choose what is important to them with the flex, and also controls by ensuring that there is a minimum threshold of both support and compliance. For the cons, we will have inconsistent spend due to the nature of the policy. There are always ways to minimize the difference with categorical selections, but it won't be as consistent as a lump sum. When the employee sees the flexible options, it can be tempting to ask for just one more, increasing your exceptions. As mobility professionals, we can often take knowledge of benefits and process for granted, but when providing a selection to choose from, we need to also educate on the good and bad consequences of that choice. Last is reporting. Since each move will be different, you will be reporting based off of averages and use of only certain benefits. This will make your data storytelling just a bit more challenging. There is an option with even more flexibility, and that is with menu and points-based policies. Both of these titles describe the same thing, but are just administered in a bit of a different way. They provide a set selection of benefits to choose from without any mandated offerings. The menu will have the employees choose one or more from certain categories, and the points will give the employees a budget of points to spend on benefits that cost varying amounts. Without mandated benefits, these should only be used domestically. When looking for a properly flexible policy, these options put the full power of choice in the hands of the employee to either match your corporate culture or see what is needed during a policy redesign. For the pros, the first would have to be flexibility. By their nature, these are the most flexible policies that could be offered. You put the full power in the hands of the employee. By being empowered to make these selections, your employee experience will increase. The employees know that you're providing what is important to them and their diverse needs. Since they are so widely applicable, you may use them across many segments and business units. This will organically allow you to maintain less policies because more groups can use them. For the cons, we will have exceptions. Just like any situation where you show what is possible, the temptation to ask for more will come up. Even when putting the benefits into categories, the spend is not fixed and will vary for each move. The employees will need to learn about each benefit and its use to make informed decisions on their selection. Even beyond a core flex, these moves all will be different, making your reporting vary. With these, the story is around what was important to the employee versus which category had the greatest spend. Commuter policies are a great business enablement program. Commuter policies are designed to help those that are traveling back and forth from the origination residence to the destination work location for a period of time. You may use these domestically or internationally since they tend to be very high touch. These are best used when you have a talent shortage and need to access a certain skill set that would not be available without this accommodation. In contrast to an assignment, these are for employees that will eventually be moving to that destination work location. For the pros, commuter policies allow you to attract talent that may not be able to move right away due to a personal situation. You can retain talent if a move is required, but they simply are not ready to relocate yet. Since the business doesn't need to wait until the employee is ready, your operations are made much more agile, giving immediate access to the skills that are needed. Your employees will feel appreciated and have a strong employee experience, being looked after and accommodated. Even a short arrangement can build a strong and lasting emotional connection with the organization. For the cons, the big one is cost. Commuter arrangements can quickly double your relocation costs since you are typically supporting all their expenses with travel, meals, transportation, and lodging during this time. Compliance can also be a concern, especially internationally. Ensuring immigration and tax requirements are being met can be a challenge. Since you are providing an accommodation, disparate treatment claims can come up and create the need for both emotional and legal mitigation. Finally, this type of flexibility can create an exception culture. This is a big accommodation, so an extra flight, expense, or service will not seem like a big request later on. Remote policies will likely be one of the fastest growing categories in the years to come. Remote programs support employees who live in a separate location from the office location. These differ from commuters due to where their tax home is. This population is living and working from their residence location, which may be in a different city or country than their office location. These policies are used to gain access to talent and retain talent that is unable or unwilling to relocate. It allows for compliance and consistency to be kept when they have to spend time in the office. The pros of this policy include employee experience. Since you are allowing the employee to live and work where they choose, their productivity will statistically increase, as will their engagement. It is often much cheaper to not have to maintain a workspace for an employee or pay for their relocation, so costs will organically decrease. You gain access to talent anywhere in the world, whether or not they can relocate. Should a personal situation come up and you have an employee who needs to live outside of the office location, you can retain them as a remote worker. For the cons, managing this population can be a challenge. The employee is not in the office, so team building and support has to be done virtually. Compliance is a consideration, ensuring that the employee is being taxed correctly and no laws are being violated. Disparate treatment claims may arise if one person is allowed to work remotely and another isn't. This becomes a much bigger deal if one of those people happens to be of a protected class. Since there is a distance, talent tracking can be an additional step. The manager must track performance based on projects, emails, and other metrics. With the employee not being physically seen in the office, they may be passed up for promotions for ones that are close. Even with all of our technology, many still feel that if I don't see you, then you must not be working. Lesson 3. Opt-in programs. What is the nature of opt-in programs? Well, the first is experiences. When employees request to go somewhere or be a part of something, the opt-in programs are there to support. Next is development. Mobility policies supporting development not just develop the employee, but also allow those in their temporary work location to learn from them. Last is personal situations. As we discussed in Lesson 2, accommodations are not just there to support employees, but also can have a very real value add to the greater organization. Rotational policies can be very useful and fulfilling. They are used when you have predetermined locations that cycle employees or a voluntary swap between employees of a similar role. They may do this domestically or internationally, which adds even greater value. By rotating the employees, you meet the needs of development, business operations, or you give the employees an opportunity for development. One of the strongest pros of rotations is development. The employee or employees can learn from the new location and experience while also teaching others. Your employee experience is greatly increased by allowing them to experience areas that they otherwise wouldn't have been exposed to. As a beneficial side effect of your employee experience is employee retention. There are not many organizations that offer such programs, which will cause your top talent to think twice before looking elsewhere. By the nature of an opt-in program, some of the costs may be borne by the employee. Additionally, if you have set rotation locations, you may leverage things like long-term leases to reduce costs. For the cons, team consistency can be a challenge. Just as with the remote employees, ones that are away on rotations can be just as disconnected. Managing employees that will be there just temporarily, or managing those that are working elsewhere, can take extra time and effort.
While they rotate, you will have to monitor where their tax home is and if they are taxable in the new locations. Different from business expenses, rotation expenses must be kept through the program. So if business expenses are reimbursed, then you may be missing your true spend. Academy programs are for when development is top priority. Academies are development policies built to transfer employees to a training location and then back to a work location. They are very effective and impactful, both domestically and internationally. Business leaders and employees alike appreciate the ability to give and receive high-quality training experiences at a reasonable cost. The pros have to include employee development. These are locations, policies, and times in an employee's career that are purposely assigned for development. By taking this special time for the employee, they will have a very good employee experience. Just as with an assembly line, purpose-built training locations become highly effective at their task, so consistency of training and cultural development happen every time. For the cons, you will have to manage attrition closely. Less ethical employees will take the opportunity to learn a skill and leave the organization. This is an even greater risk to the company when it is in another country. While costs are managed efficiently, you are still sending an employee to a different location, which will naturally add spend. The pro of consistency can also be the con of limited perspective. By having the designated training location, the employees are exposed to fewer sources of information. Last is administration. While effective, sending employees to other locations for training can be cumbersome. The additional efforts will likely result in additional headcount. Backpacker policies also go by the name of Expat Lite, because that is exactly what it is, a limited benefit expat assignment. These are for international use, where an employee will have access to a global experience, development, and return back home when the assignment is done. Since the benefits are limited, these policies are very cost-effective to the business, allowing them to open up more opportunities to even more employees. As we mentioned, these are purpose-built to be cost-effective, so cost is the first pro. Next is development. Expat assignments are fantastic for developing the employee while sharing the employee's knowledge with the host location. Since global assignments regularly rank as one of the top requests of millennials, it will greatly increase your employee experience. These opt-in programs are not commonly in use, so it will keep these happy employees retained and productive for years to come. For the cons, we have to mention employee support. Global assignments are so expensive due to the many benefits, so by limiting the support, you are putting a greater responsibility on the employee. Having a team member leave the country is not typically a popular thing for business leaders, so working through the time away will be a consideration. By the nature of the limited support, the employee will be bearing much of the cost, so education is important. Lastly, all these extra steps increase administration time and cost. Lesson 4. Operational flexibility. What is the nature of operational flexibility? The first is time savings for both your employee and the operations team. By saving time, we often save money, and even when time isn't a factor, flexibility creates options, and options provide ways to save money. Last is service improvement. As we discussed, flexibility increases your employee experience and service to the employee and business. A leading factor in all mobility management is exception management. Are you noticing an increase in exceptions? This can happen either before implementing a flexible policy option or as a result of it. If it occurs, then this is the time to see if we can change a policy or process to lower them back down. To discover the why, this is when we delve deeper into the data to look for the causation. We look for the causation rather than the correlation, because this will show what the true driver of change should be. A great way to save your operating team both time and, in turn, money is by providing scope. Scope is the threshold that a team has to make a decision, grant an exception, or provide some other solution without prior approval. The agility of this speaks for itself. To ensure you do it correctly, first, ask who has scope. How much scope are you granting, and in which areas? Are there secondary levels needed for these decisions? A well-implemented scope strategy can decrease exceptions up to 80% and increase your employee experience. Another way to look for flexibility in your operations is by looking at your timeline. When do you need the employee at the destination location, and can you wait for a lower cost time of year? If you need them immediately, how well maintained is your talent tracking system to ensure that you have options? A factor to increase employee experience or cause you to look elsewhere is when the employee wants to move. If you have some room, they will appreciate the option to move at their pace. Last is how long will the employee be at destination? When we discuss goal setting, we mentioned blending tactics and strategy. This is a great example. If you only plan to have the employee there for 9 months, does a full move make sense, or would another policy be more effective for all involved? In order to operate all of these programs, a flexible service model can make all the difference. Is your technology a value add? Are your employees complimenting you on it, or are they complaining about it? Simple additions such as operation systems or chatbots can save you hundreds of emails a week. Is your process streamlined? Do you have a process mapped? Mapping your processes will show inefficiencies as well as make sure that all of the steps are clear for those involved. A key factor of workforce readiness is access to information. This includes training in all facets of the business and information for the transferring employee. Something as simple as knowing where to go grocery shopping in the destination location can greatly ease their transition. Knowledge of immigration compliance is essential to keep both the employee and company out of trouble. A popular way that organizations protect their investment is with repayment agreements. Depending on the policy or program, you can more confidently enforce them when you can answer the question of when and how the recovery will take place. A mature mobility program will be able to correlate those answers with an ROI justification. Lesson 5. Resource flexibility. Information is your employee's most valuable resource, and your information delivery method ensures that they have it. Offer information that is on demand through a company intranet or centralized resource. The access to information allows for more well-rounded employees who can learn skills that are not just for this role, but the next and beyond. A solution to bring consistency is by automating your onboarding. We've all sat through the obligatory and boring videos when joining a new organization, but this antiquated approach has limited impact on initial performance. Modernize your automation with computer-based learnings, conversational AI, virtual reality, and more. A common theme amongst this course is around improving employee experience. While this isn't a direct task, it is the result of many small efforts and will benefit your organization more than any number of these solutions combined. By leveraging your company population and move volume, you can secure discounts to benefit your entire organization. Simple things such as offering local discounts company-wide provide a real budget impact for no cost to you. You can use tracking measures to see what your employees are using and thus what is important to them. And of course, we'll need to say it again, but now for the full organization. Saving your employees money on what they use every day connects them deeper with your organization, improves their experience, and connects your company with local businesses. Technology is both the medium and cause of resource flexibility. With the right tools, you can lessen time for access to information with your relocation management companies, operation teams, HR, hiring managers, and employees. Automation and operation systems will ease the administration across teams, and the added visibility increases tracking and compliance. With flexible policies, these compliance and tracking considerations become more important than ever. There are many situations when an employee doesn't qualify for a company-sponsored move, and in these scenarios, a self-move resource will save your employees time, money, and stress. By allowing access to your preferred service providers, you can help generate additional business for them, often reducing your costs. Additionally, your employees can feel confident that they are using a vetted service provider. This will also help educate your employee on the process, so they can understand what steps they will have to take and decrease the time trying to figure out what they are forgetting. An added benefit of this visibility is to see how many of those are moving outside of your program. This will help you know if another program should be added and where to focus resources, both educational and financial. Lesson 6. Psychology of Flexibility. During this course, we have mentioned many positive impacts, but let's sum it up from a psychological perspective. By showing flexibility, you are showing trust, which causes the employee to have a deeper connection with the organization. Many companies chase this by throwing money at it, but trust, respect, and caring creates a genuine tie between the employee and employer. Motivation is a natural result of this. Just as in Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, when the base needs are sorted, the human can focus on a higher level of performance. Similar to the deeper connection, there is increased loyalty. Why would the employee look elsewhere when they are so well supported by their current organization? You are competing on a different level, and your attrition rates will show it. With the good comes the bad, so we also need to call out the things to watch out for. When implementing flexible programs, exceptions can increase. You will want to identify the causation of this and pivot as needed. If you run into a disparate treatment situation, this is the time for training. Ensure that there is consistency amongst decisions and that those decisions are data-based. Last is missed expenses. The purpose of flexible programs is to allow for flexibility within the program, not out of it. During the first year of implementation, you will want to closely monitor your business expenses to ensure that everything is being captured appropriately. The ability to choose can also bring compliance considerations. So let's discuss how to stay compliant. Your exceptions are not simply requests for additional spend, but may have very real tax or legal impacts. Ensure that your decision makers are trained on this impact, and when leadership approval is needed, that they understand the entirety of it. We all want to impress and take extra care of our executive leadership, but in doing so, we have to keep it compliant. If you are moving someone in the US, ensure that you meet Sarbanes-Oxley, tax, and deferred compensation requirements while providing flexible solutions. Even beyond your executives, look at tax application both domestically and globally. Are you being double taxed? Are you grossing up appropriately? Are you reporting in the correct tax year? I often say that you can tell what a company has been sued for by what is in their policies. This is why consistency is so important. In the beginning of this course, we discussed that a strong, flexible program offers structured selection. Keep the company out of trouble by keeping this selection within the structured boundaries. Now it's time for our course project. Create a Core Flex policy. When making a Core Flex policy, we will want mandatory benefits and some to choose from. To start, what is your budget? Once you have your budget, or if you need help figuring out what it should be, list out the benefits needed, or potential benefits and their associated costs. With these costs listed, you can categorize them. The more categories, the more accurate that your budgeting will be, but also the more time to administer. The goal here is to stay as close to budget as possible by mixing the core, or benefits always offered, with the ones that they have to choose from. Next, make clear core benefits and how many can be chosen from each of the flex categories. Remember that education is important, so the more information that you have, the easier your employees will be able to navigate the policy and its options. Thank you so much for participating in this course on global mobility flexibility. This concludes the course. Should you have any questions regarding anything that we discussed, please email our support team at support@vendiumglobal.com. We are always happy to help you achieve your mobility goals and create what we call Mobility Modernized. We hope to see you again in our next course.